When researching whether you should do a bike tour, it can be easy to get this idea that bike touring is all great. You get to see some of the most beautiful landscapes on planet Earth, you get to visit your friends and family and reconnect with them on a level that you never would in a car, and you get to do carefree, car-free riding all day, every day. But also, bike touring kinda sucks. No, like really sucks a lot of time. Here's 5 things that nobody tells you about bike touring. Shout out to Wabi Cycles for sponsoring this fixed gear bike touring video series to find out the bike that did not let me down on my attempted bike tour from Sacramento to San Diego, California. I let the bike down, okay? But I'm gonna get back to it. Make sure you're subscribed to watch more bike touring videos from me. Check out my bike linked above and check out Wabi Cycles linked in the description. Now the expectation that bike publications or bike YouTube channels or whatever bike social media garbage people set is that bike touring is an amazing thing. And the only regret that you'll have bike touring is not doing it sooner. But the fact of the matter is, bike touring is really hard, and bike touring is definitely not for everybody. I would say bike touring is not for most people. Bike touring is extremely difficult. It is the most difficult thing that I've ever done on a bike. Most people ride bikes for fun, believe it or not, and most people have fun when they're just chilling. If that sounds like you, don't do a bike tour. Bike touring will push you to your limits. It is very difficult. You're riding ultra long distances back to back to back to back, day after day, all while carrying more stuff, more weight, making the ride even harder than, say, you would on a regular, just fun ride. Bike touring will push you to your edge, and sometimes it will push you beyond your edge. It is extremely physically demanding, mentally taxing, especially if you're doing it alone, which I did, and I will. You'll get really terrible sleep quality since you're sleeping on the ground for a lot of it if you want to do it economically. You don't always know where you're going to sleep at the end of your long-ass ride, which can be very mentally demanding since you don't know whether you're going to get robbed or stabbed or eaten by a bear or bitten by a poisonous snake. You go through long stretches with nobody to talk to, nobody to commiserate with your pain if you're doing it alone, or you go through stretches of road where you are just forced to ride on the side of a highway and be near inches away from death because there is no other road to ride on, all while going multiple days at a time without a shower. And yes, this is all part of the unforgettable experience of bike touring. It will change you, hopefully for the better as a person, because it is so difficult. But it may be too difficult for most people. You have to be at least a little bit, okay, maybe a decent amount crazy to want to go bike touring. And because it's so difficult, you will eat an unholy amount of food. Now the beauty of bike touring is that you can take it at your own pace. But if you have a job and you want to get back to your job and just do this bike tour on your vacation, you're probably going to want to do a fair amount of distance in a day, say like 50 to 100 miles in a day. You certainly can go slower, but that's what most bike tourists tend to do. Compound that with the fact that you're in the elements, you can be going over some pretty rough terrain. Biking out on the open road is a lot harder than biking where people live. The terrain is more rugged, it's windier, it's rockier, you're far away from civilization and food for long stretches of the ride. And on top of that, because you need to be self-sufficient with a bike tour, again, you could be more or less self-sufficient depending on how light you want to pack.
Jesus. Why? Why, Zach? Why would you do this?
Gotta make the content. But at the end of the day, you're still going to be carrying a lot more gear than you would if you're just riding around town. And because of that, you're going to burn anywhere between like 4,000 to 8,000 and maybe even 10,000 calories a day. So if you want to even just maintain your weight and energy levels, you're gonna need upwards of like 6,000 to 12,000 calories a day. It is ridiculous how much food you need to eat when you're on a bike tour. So there will be times where I go to a Mexican restaurant, I order burrito, eat the burrito, go back up to the counter and say, hey, can I have 2 more burritos? And they look at me like, oh, do you want it for go? It's like, no, I want it right now. You will surprise yourself at how many calories you burn, how many calories you eat, and how many you need just to feel normal. It is brutal. And that's part of the fun of bike touring. But bike touring, I've alluded to this, it's not always fun. I would say 95% of the time that you're on the bike, it is not fun. It's absolutely miserable. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing, you know? And like biking is a good thing, but if you're biking, 70 to 80 or 100 miles every day for a week, yeah, I don't care who you are, but that seems like a bit too much. It's going to take a toll on your body. You're going to be sore just about everywhere. I don't care how fit you are. I don't care how much you've trained. You're gonna be sore. It's gonna suck. You're going to be hungry all the time, as we've alluded to earlier, and you're going to get probably some of the worst sleep of your life. And on top of that, you're going to smell the worst you ever have in your life. You get to a point in bike touring where you just get kicked into survival mode, and you don't even care about anything anymore. Like, you don't care how sore you are, you don't care how hungry or thirsty you are, you're just glad that you're alive, and you're glad that a car didn't just turn you into a pancake on the side of the road. But because it's so gnarly, you also stop caring about the fun things that bike touring brings, like the beautiful scenery or the wonderful bike trails or just being out in nature and being able to recharge. You just stop caring, and you just start thinking, you know what? I'm alive, and that's enough. It is absolutely necessary that you have a sense of humor when you're bike touring. Things will inevitably go wrong. You cannot plan for every single little thing. This is why brakes are death. Oh my gosh. I'm actually really upset. That explains why freaking 35 miles felt like 60 miles. Bike touring is as mentally exhausting as it is physically exhausting. You're going to have to laugh that you smell like a middle school boy's locker room and that everybody turns and scrunches their face when you walk into a restaurant. You're going to have to laugh that sometimes routes really suck and can be really dangerous for cyclists. On down to sunny California, we got some of the best cycling in the world. We can ride on a highway with no shoulder, where people buzz you from literally 1 foot away. I am not exaggerating, going 65. I hate it. You have to laugh at the fact that you chose to be this miserable, to put yourself through hell, all because you were bored at home. Again, you have to be at least a little bit crazy to go bike touring, and to think that you would actually be happy when you're riding your bike stupid distances just so that you have bragging rights and can show some pictures to your friends and family. It's ridiculous. You have to maintain a sense of humor if you want to finish your bike tour. But as ridiculous as it is, it's also extremely fulfilling. That's why people do it in the first place. That's why crazy people become so crazy about living on their bike. Not even riding their bike, it is legitimately, it's like, oh, this is my life now. I sit and pedal the bike. I am a slave to the bike now. Because people don't bike tour because it's such a fun experience while on the bike. If you want to have a fun experience on the bike, just get on your bike, ride wherever. That's what it's all about. Just all about pedaling, feeling your body, feeling the bike, being out and about. It's great. You can do that anywhere. You don't need a mountain and a lake in the background to enjoy riding a bike. I kid you not. Don't get me wrong. Bike touring is super fun. I find it really fun. And the most fun part about bike touring is getting off the bike. Because it is such a torturous experience, it makes the simple act of getting off your bike, sitting down, doesn't even matter, it doesn't even have to be in the chair, it just could be on the side of the road, just sitting down, just stopping pedaling for a moment and doing nothing. It makes that the most fun experience that you will ever have. Bike touring lowers your standard of living so much that doing nothing, just staring off into the distance, and just thinking, oh, I'm still alive, that's pretty cool. It makes that super fulfilling. That is the point of bike touring. Even a cold shower feels like you're at a 5-star hotel. Getting out of the wind and having 4 walls around you makes you feel like you're the king of the castle. And even shitty granola bars and tap water that tastes like rusty municipal pipes become Michelin star meals. Because bike touring is so ridiculous, when you visit your friends and family, they become way more excited to see you. Like, oh my gosh, you rode how many hours to here on your bike? and you're alive, like, yeah, stay as long as you want. And through this process of how ridiculous bike touring is, you become a lot closer with your friends and family. They are forced to become more hospitable because what you're doing is so stupid and they have to take care of you. As bonkers and ridiculous bike touring is, it's because it is such a stupid thing to do is what makes it so deeply fulfilling. So if that sounds even mildly fun to you, heed my warnings. Be prepared to know that you're going to put yourself through hell, laugh at the fact that this is what you wanted, and do a bike tour. Just pack a bag, start pedaling, camp out somewhere, and bike back home. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but trust me, even just a quick overnighter is going to be a lot more difficult than you think, and you're going to learn a lot more from it, and you'll have an unforgettable experience. For better or for worse. A Fixie famous shoutouts to Brandon Black, Thane Berg, David K, Gio Dezera, Julian Corona, Ryan Witt, Scott Palangi, and Zane Kolnik for helping to make these Fix Gear videos possible through the support on Patreon. And remember that life is short, but don't make it shorter, so be sure to ride your bike every day to make the everyday things a little bit more enjoyable to be reasonably dangerous.